Today, we're cracking open a case file on a financial mystery that really shook the entire world. It's a story about some simple promises, some really complex inventions, and the bonds that, back in 2008, pretty much broke the world.
It all kicks off with this number, 97 cents. I know, it doesn't seem like a big deal, right? But this tiny 3-cent gap was actually enough to spark a full-blown global panic. So the question is, what does it even mean?
Well, it means that for every single dollar people put into what they thought was a totally safe investment, they only got 97 cents back. I mean, imagine you put your cash in a super secure vault, you come back later, and poof, some of it has just vanished. This is the story of exactly how that happened.
So that safe place was something called a money market fund. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant shared piggy bank. Millions of people put their money in there thinking it's completely safe. The number one rule of this piggy bank is simple. A dollar in is always a dollar out. But in September 2008, one of the biggest ones, the Reserve Primary Fund, broke that rule. They called it breaking the buck. And, well, when a piggy bank breaks, people tend to panic.
Okay, so to figure out how this piggy bank shattered, we're going to run our own little investigation. First, we'll look at the simplest clue of all, the IOU. Then we'll take a tour of the bond market, get to know the main suspects. After that, we'll uncover the weapon, a crazy creation I like to call the financial smoothie. And finally, we'll connect all the dots, solve the case, and look at the big picture.
All right, so our investigation starts with the most basic building block in the entire world of finance. It's really the simplest promise you can make with money, the IOU, or as the pros call it, a bond.
So what is a bond, really? Just think of it like a formal IOU. When you buy a bond, you're just lending money to someone, maybe the government, maybe a big company. In return, they promise to pay you back the full amount later. And as a little thank you for the loan, they give you some extra payments along the way. We call that interest. It's just like lending your friend $5 and they give you back $6 next week. That extra dollar, that's your interest. Simple as that.
Okay, so we've got our basic clue, the IOU. Now let's take a little tour of the bond market and meet the main characters, or let's call them the suspects, in our story. There are really three big types you need to know about. First up, you've got treasury bonds. This is basically an IOU from the US government. You know, when the government needs cash for things like roads or national parks, it issues these bonds. And because the government can always collect taxes, its promise to pay you back is seen as rock solid. Honestly, these are considered one of the safest investments on Earth. Next up are municipal bonds, or munis for short. These are like your city's IOU. When your local town wants to build a new school or a bridge, it issues these bonds. It's kind of cool. It's a way for you to invest right in your own community. Oh, and they have this amazing little superpower. The interest you make is often completely tax-free. Now, don't get too caught up in all the details on this chart. The only thing you need to see is the overall trend. See how that big block of bars is just climbing, steady as she goes? That tells you that the market for these city and state IOUs is usually super stable, super predictable. No crazy spikes, no sudden crashes. It's not a place you expect a lot of drama. Tuck that away, it's a really important clue for later. So, why is that tax-free feature such a huge deal? Let's just run through a quick example. Let's say you could get 5% interest from a regular bond where you have to pay taxes. Well, after the taxman takes his cut, maybe you only really keep 3.5%, but with a tax-free muni bond that's paying 4%, you keep the whole 4%. See? Even though the interest rate looked lower at first, you actually end up with more money. That's why people love them. And our last suspect is the corporate bond. This is a company's IOU. Big businesses sell these when they need money to, build a new factory or launch a new product. Now, because the company could technically go out of business, these are a bit riskier than government bonds. So to make up for that extra risk, they have to offer you a higher interest rate to get you to lend them the money. It's that classic trade-off, right? Higher potential reward, but higher risk. So we've met our suspects, the super safe government IOU, the steady city IOU, and the riskier company IOU. But here's the crazy twist. Our mystery wasn't caused by any one of these things on their own. Nope. It happened when Wall Street started blending them together into something totally new, way more complex, and, frankly, dangerous. It's time to uncover the weapon.
The weapon was called a mortgage-backed security, or MBS. And here's the recipe. Step 1. You take thousands of individual mortgage payments. The check people send the bank for their house every month. Step 2. You throw them all into a giant blender and mix them up into one big pool of money. It's like making a financial smoothie. And finally, step 3, You sell slices of that smoothie to investors. Each slice gives them a piece of all those mortgage payments that are flowing in.
And this chart, wow, it shows what happened next. The market for these financial smoothies didn't just grow, it exploded. Just look at that insane spike leading up to 2008. But here was the real problem. The ingredients they were putting in the blender. They started using riskier and riskier mortgages, subprime loans, which were given to people who had a much higher chance of not being able to pay them back.
Okay, so we've got our weapon, a financial smoothie packed with bad ingredients. But how does that connect back to our crime scene, the broken piggy bank? How did a bunch of bad home loans mixed up in a financial blender end up destroying what was supposed to be the safest savings account on the planet? Okay, here's the play-by-play. First, all those risky subprime mortgages were hidden deep inside the smoothie. Second, and this is absolutely critical, the official graders of Wall Street, the ratings agencies, stamped these toxic smoothies with an AAA, perfectly safe label. So trusting that official rating, the super cautious money market funds bought tons of them. But then, homeowners started defaulting on those risky loans. The smoothies became worthless, and because our piggy bank was stuffed with these now toxic investments, its own value completely collapsed. The buck was broken.
And that brings us right back here. 97 cents. This was the final domino to fall in a long, complicated chain reaction. It all started with simple home loans which got blended into these MBS smoothies. And sometimes those smoothies even got reblended into even more complicated things. But it all started with simple IOUs and it ended here in a global financial meltdown. So, our case is solved. But what's the final verdict? What's the big lesson we're supposed to take away from all of this craziness?
The big picture is this. The financial world isn't a bunch of separate boxes. It's a deeply interconnected web. A bad mortgage in one little town can get blended into a financial smoothie that ends up breaking a piggy bank on the other side of the planet. It just goes to show you that risk can hide in the most unexpected places, especially in the things that everyone swears are 100% safe. And that leaves us with one last, really important question. The case of the broken buck might be closed, but the lesson here is timeless. The 2008 crisis happened because massive risks were disguised as total safety. So it really makes you wonder, and it's the question we should all probably be asking. Where's the next big risk hiding today? Thanks for joining our investigation.